Hello, CQ, CQ, CQ. CQ, the old friends net. This is WA4LLR, Dave in Burnsville, North Carolina, calling CQ the old friends net. And this may be interesting since the K-index is at storm level. So we'll see what we can do. CQ the old friends net. This net meets 3 times weekly, Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m., Thursday mornings at 9 a.m., and Sunday afternoons at 4 p.m. The net is carried out in the Amplitude Modulation mode and uses the roundtable format. So, this net is a good place to exchange information, look for parts and pieces, maybe trade a rig every now and then, and just have a good time of fellowship. Mainly focused on vintage type gear, but anyone able to generate an AM signal with whatever is encouraged to participate. So we will see what propagation will allow us to do today. Stations wishing to check into the old friends net, give me a call and come now.
N4LQ.
W4KR.
K4GDN.
K4 Bravo.
K1VVC.
WB4NKL.
Kilo N4AK.
Bravo Rush to you.
K4JAL.
M4IYQ.
Alrighty, there were several doubles, but I managed to pull all of them out, I think, except the first one. I know N4LQ was there, and someone else, I believe that ended in Q, was with him. Who was that?
WA4FJQ.
Alright, that explains that one. Okay, let me tell you what I have. N4LQ. WA4FJQ, W4KR, K4GDN, KG4IUQ, KZ4B, K1VVC, WB4NKL, N4AK, WF2U, K4JAL, N4IYQ. Who did I miss?
November 4 Whiskey Delta.
Okay, I recognize Bruce. Who else?
K4 BWZ.
All right, I recognize K4 VWD. Do we have any more? All righty, let me run through the list one more time. N4LQ, WA4FJQ, W4KR, K4GDN, KG4IUQ, KZ4B, K1VVC, WB4NKL, N4AK, WF2U, K4JAL, N4IYQ, N4WD, K4VWD. Any others?
W4MEC.
All right, recognizing Charlie, W4MEC. Anyone else? Okay, you'll bring up the you'll be the caboose on this one, Charlie, and we'll see if anyone else comes along. So far, copying everybody okay. Nobody's got a rock crushing signal, but considering our space weather at the moment, that's not surprising. Anyhow, good to be on board with you this afternoon. We've got about 46, 47 degrees. We've had 1/3 of an inch of rain, and it's overcast and foggy and kind of misty out there, not raining at the present time. So let's go ahead and get started. Steve, down to Pleasantville. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR. It's N4LQ. In Shelby, North Carolina. The name is Steve, in case you don't know that. Running the Heathkit DX-40 today. Driving a little amplifier and the horizontal loop antenna. And everybody's got my meter pegged here. I don't know. I must have had my special K factor this morning, but everybody is really strong here, at least for the time being. And it's 48 degrees, really dark and gloomy out. It's been raining a little bit all day, and it rained hard. I'm not sure how much is in the rain gauge, but we had 3 inches left over from last time, and it was still in there, so it's probably over the top. So, Tom, how copy up there? WA4FJQ, N4LQ.
N4LQ, WA4FJQ. Okay, thanks, Steve. There's some kind of pulsar volt QRM here that's knocking out just about everybody. I can barely copy Dave. I don't know what it is. It reminds me of the old Russian over the horizon radar that you used to hear on 40 meters. Lasts for about 4 seconds, really strong, drops off for about a half second, and then back on for 4 seconds, real strong and knocking everybody out. But at any rate, I got the attenuator hooked up to the AF68, and she's putting out about 6 watts. So we ought to be peaking someplace around 150 watts with the 30L1. But give me a signal report. Anybody that can copy this signal, I would appreciate it. At any rate, since the conditions here are pretty bad, I'll turn it over to Stan. I think he's next up. W4KR. This is WA4FJQ.
Yeah, okay, Tom, fine. Good afternoon. WA4FJQ. And the old friends group, W4KR. Well, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, bank conditions are a little funky this afternoon. A lot of QSB, but copying everybody. Tom, you were solid. That's eight. You know, you're not blowing the doors off, but solid copy. Temperature here this afternoon is about 55. It's been mostly overcast all day, but we've had no rain. So I'll keep it short and ship it on over to the East Coast. K4 GDN. George, how you doing this afternoon? W4KR. Go ahead.
W4KR in the groups, K4 GDN. Well, it's wet here, Stan, and not too chilly. I think it's in the high 50s, maybe low 60s, but we got an awful lot of rain. They were saying perhaps over 4 inches, and it was kind of windy there for a while. Early this afternoon, I guess around 1:30, and I think there was a report maybe of a tornado. I know there was a warning put out at one time, but it's quite wet. They're expecting flooding, particularly tomorrow once all this rain starts running down. So it was quite a storm. With that, I'll pass it on. KG4IUQ in the group, K4GDN.
Thank you very much, George. You're sounding good. Over here in Shelby, North Carolina, where it's raining, we've got a temperature of about 49 degrees Fahrenheit. Most of the signals are sounding good. Dave in Burnsville, you're sounding great. Steve, you sound very good with your DX-40 and the amp. Tom, FJQ, with a AF68 and an attenuator, you're sounding good here. It seems like some of the signals are not as strong as normal. Stan, W4KR, you're sounding great here. And I'm on a reduced signal today. I've had this radio transmitter, the AF68 power supply, the M1070, has been improved by Steve, N4LQ. He replaced capacitors and replaced diodes. Yeah, I think he did something else. I'm running about 100 watts carrier with a peak of about 400 watts. I'm using an amplifier. I used this thing Steve told me about. It's a T, a coax adapter, a T adapter, and I'm running half the signal into a dummy load, and it's working okay. I mean, I'm surprised it works as well as it does. I've received in the mail from a friend in Dandridge, Tennessee, Gordon Baker. He has sent me a Harvey Wells Bandmaster Senior, an APS-50 power supply, and a Heath VF1 VFO, and I'm very proud to receive that. I'll get to working on that pretty soon. I'm going to turn it over now to KZ4B, John. This is KG4IUQ.
Okay, KG4IUQ in the group. This is KZ4 Bravo, fine business. Conditions today are mixed. The band is long. George, you're coming in great with a lot of QS Baker. Your peaks are very high and much better than normal. And Tom, you're coming in here good. Less QS Baker than, say, with George. Nice strong signal. And Steve, your DX-40, the audio's not quite as crisp as normal with your other AM rigs, but not bad. You don't hear many DX-40s. They were very well made. I don't know what happened to them all. When I was a beginning general, that's what everybody had, was a 35 or a 40, and they've all disappeared. Seems like only the DX-60s have survived mostly. Let's see. We're running the usual Pintec Eagle driving Titan 1, and we're on the let's see, Steve, you straightened me out. A double extended, well, it's an almost double extended ZEP. It's 200 feet end to end, up about 75 feet at the apex. And that is through an AT5K antenna tuner. So that's a run down here. Over to you, John. K1 VVC in the group. KZ4B, over.
Yeah, very good, John. Thanks a lot. KZ4B in the group. K1 VVC. Well, kind of a dreary day. the 1 to 2 inches of rain that they forecast last night, I think we got a quarter of an inch of rain. So typical TV weather forecasters keep work out again. But it was a good weekend to work inside on some radio stuff. And one of the things, I have an extra tube caddy. I consolidated some of my tube collection down, so I have an extra empty tube caddy. If anybody wants it for free, I can bring it to the lunch, and if they want to stop by and pick it up, it's fine, whatever, but I do have that. So, over to you, Cliff. WB4NKL, K1VVC.
K1VVC, it's WB4NKL. Okay, John, good copy. Good copy all the way around. George just coming in good. And Tom, whatever's affecting your receive signal is not bothering your transmit signal. You got a good strong signal into East Tennessee. Got about 50 degrees and a little light rain right now. We didn't get the rain, didn't start till a lot later than they thought. But we're getting some rain now, but we haven't maybe had a quarter of an inch. Hadn't looked in the gauge. Well, I think I took the gauge in to keep it from freezing, so I'll have to put the rain bucket out and check that this winter. So good copy all the way around. I'll send it on around. Good group in here today. Go ahead, Glenn. N4AK, it's WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, WB4NKL and the old friends. November 4 Alpha Kilo. It's 56 degrees over here at sunset this afternoon. It's cloudy and kind of miserable outside. We're on the Johnson 500, listening on the National NC 183 Delta, and I believe I'm on the Cobra antenna loaded up. George, we saw the wind down at Myrtle Beach. It was on the Weather Channel today, so I guess it's a little windy down your way. I have a friend who needs an old Valiant, not necessarily working. He wants to restore a Valiant he has that was in a fire, and he would like the front panels in the cabinet. That's Carl, W4RCW. So if anybody has an older Valiant around, need to let Carl know. So, Mir, over to you this afternoon. WF2U N4AK.
Roger, N4AK. This is WF2U. Good afternoon, everybody. And actually, I have great signals here. Everybody so far is booming in. I'll give individual signal reports. Today I'm using my little Heathkit stuff. Actually, I want to use the G7, the Gunset G76, but I didn't have this little Heathkit station on for a while. Actually longer than the G76, so that will probably happen next week with the G76. Anyway, I'm using the Heathkit Cheyenne MT1 transmitter. That's the little mobile transmitter. And the matching receiver, the Comanche MR1, which look like the little brothers of the Heathkit Apache and the Mohawk receiver. It's just like, really like they had kids. Putting out something like about 70 or so watts on peaks. The steady state carrier is about 35 watts. It's a controlled carrier transmitter similar to the, I think it's a little bit improved, similar to the DX-40 or the DX-60. I didn't make any modifications in it. and the antenna is the 80 meter end-fed half wave, about 45 feet or so. The weather here is rainy, on and off. So far, we got a third of an inch, and it's 52 degrees here, and cloudy, and actually right now it's drizzling. So let's see, in the first round, Dave, you were 10 to 15 over 9. Everybody actually has about a plus minus 5 to 10 dB QSB. Not everybody the same. Some are steadier. But anyway, so Dave, you are 10 to 15 over 9. Steve was 30 over 9. Tom, about 10 over S9 going down to S8 with QSB. Stan, 10 to 15 over 9. George was S7 to S9. Good copy because the noise level is relatively low. Mark, 20 over 9. John K's at 4B, 10 over 9. And John K1 VVC, pretty strong here. 20 over to 30 over 9. Cliff 15 over 9, and Glenn, you between 15 to 20 over S9. So I'll write down my readings from here on. So Jimmy, pick it up. K4JAL. This is WF2U.
WF2U, K4JAL. Well, I'm on the old college rigs today, 32V2 and the 75A4, running the whole thing with my D104 and my Cobra antenna. So there you are. Tom, you wanted signal reports. I'm up here in Burnsville. I don't know exactly where you are, but you're 5 over 7 and perfectly readable. That's about all I know right now. Over to my buddy Chuck, N4IYQ, K4JAL.
K4JAL, and the old friends, N4IYQ. Good afternoon to everyone. 52 degrees and a little bit of light rain here. Not much different than what Cliff said. Rain was supposed to start about 2 a.m. and I got up after about 7 or 7:30, and we still didn't have any rain. But it's been kind of mist and a little bit of very light drizzle is about all we've got. We're on the multi-Elmac AF68, driving the Heathkit SB221, about 210, 215 watt carrier, and receiving with the PMR8. Run the double bazooka antenna. The peak's probably up about 30 feet, and that's the extent of it over here. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. It is a nice dreary day to stay in and get a few things done. N4WD, Bruce, N4IYQ.
N4IYQ, N4WD. Well, everybody's sounding good other than the flutters. It must be from the cooler winds. It's 53 degrees here, half inch of rain. Overcast and cloudy and waiting for winds tonight and tomorrow night. And temperatures down at nighttime in the 20s midweek. So I guess winter has started or is about to start. A couple more days though. We'll keep it short since signals are in the fluttering mode, and say hi to everyone this day. W4VWD, I think it is. Yeah, Lee, N4WD.
Okay, Bruce, N4WD, K4VWD. All right, well, you're S9 here in Greenville at my home, where it's 51 degrees. We've had about 3 tenths, about the same as most in this area, and a little bit of wind. And Tom, FJQ, your signal is just fine here. No problems at all. And I got all my Christmas packages wrapped. So I don't have anything more to do for Christmas. Trees up, packages are wrapped, cards are done. So I'm in good shape. So, Charlie, here she comes. I hope things are well with you up in Hendersonville. W4MEC in the group, K4VWD.
Okay, Lee K4VWD and the old friends W4MEC. Real good, good signals on this end. George is a little light, but good copy anyway. Everybody else is booming in. And the weather was like everybody else's, I guess, well, on this side of the state, because it was just drizzle and light rain since yesterday, and I don't know how much I got, but it can't be much. I see some puddles in the yard, in the driveway, but nothing great there. Of course, my rain gauge is in op, so like I said, I need to put a glass out there or something, but fancy electronic one's kaput right now. I was looking at the predicted weather there, and in my sleuthing of the weather, I could see that massive storm coming, and then I looked at the jet stream model, and that's pretty much what's kept everything to be nothing but light drizzle over here. All the heavy stuff's over to the east of us, so I guess maybe some of you fellas, and maybe Tom and folks over near Hickory, or rather Charlotte, probably got a pretty good dousing, but not a lot here. Anyway, so let's go back to Dave, WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
All right, Charlie, fine business. Let me take a quick standby. Anybody else that would like to join, come now.
WB4ARK.
All right, recognizing Buddy, WB4ARK. Do we have anyone else? All right, Buddy, go ahead and make one and turn it back to me.
Well, I was a little late getting things hooked up. Thought I had the receiver going, but didn't have the antenna hooked up correctly, so that was a problem. 32V3 today, and the R390A. So sorry to get in here late, but just overlooked a couple of problems. So with that, I guess we'll send it back to Dave, WA4LLR, WB4. Oh, and we've had about 0.14 inches overnight, and I think we've probably had about a half an inch so far today. So back to Dave, WA4LLR, WB4ARK.
All righty. One more standby. Do we have any other stations that would like to come? Come now. Okay, WB4ARK and the net, WA4LLR. Well, the band is improving on my end. Signals are getting stronger, and QSB seems to be smoothing out here. Steve, the DX-40 sounds good. And Tom, I'm sorry you're having problems hearing, but for most of this round, you were top dog until Chuck came in there. And right now, he's the loudest signal here. Chuck, that AF-68, is doing a bodacious job. Let's see. Stan's had no rain, and you're right. It has gone east of us for sure. George had about 4 inches, so George is getting all of our rain. Mark, you're loud up here, and congratulations on the Harvey Wells gear. That's awesome. John, your 10-tech sounds good, and John, I'm sure somebody would like to have a tube caddy. Cliff, sounding strong over here as well, and you're warm over there at 50 degrees. Glenn, the 500 and the Cobra's doing a good job for you, and Mir, the small Heath twins are doing great. Cheyenne and Comanche. Jimmy, the 32V2 sounds good. It sounds like you still may have a little bit of an intermittent mic. It cracks and pops every now and then. The audio varies a little bit. It may just need plugging and unplugging or something. I don't know on the mic connector. But for the most part, it's real good. And Chuck, as I said, you're extremely loud down here. Bruce, sounding good, 53 degrees down there and a ½ inch of rain. And Lee, I'm proud of you. You got all your Christmas packages wrapped and your tree up and everything done. And here I am with no shopping done yet. So, oh well, you know. Charlie, didn't get much rain, and you're going to have to get you one of those weather buckets so that you can get an accurate count on the rainfall. And Buddy with a 32 V3 sounding good. Well, if you've looked at the space weather, you know that we're getting a little bit of the benefit of some of those flares, a couple of M-class, and then the strongest one of the cycle, that X2.8 that happened on the 13th. And they were thinking that they were going to hit today, and or well, actually they thought they might hit yesterday, but they were a little bit delayed getting here evidently. But I think we're just getting a glancing blow, because a direct hit with that X-flare would have gotten us on a major storm level. But the sunspot number is 163, solar flux index is 149, and the K is 5.33, which is minor storm. This day in history, Red Letter Day, 1903, the Wright brothers did their first flight at Kitty Hawk. They made a whole 120 feet and lasted for 12 seconds. So, you know, there you go. On this day in 2014, the United States and Cuba reestablished diplomatic relations that had been severed for about 50 years. On this day in 2011, North Korean ruler Kim Jong-il passed away and was succeeded by the one in charge now, Kim Jong-un. On this day in 1992, the North American Free Trade Agreement was signed between Mexico, Canada, and the United States. And let's see what else is going on. Not a whole lot more. So that's what we'll leave it at today and get it going back around. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, N4LQ. Well, okay. Very good, Dave. And that Wright brother flight, I think you said 120 feet. I just looked it up, and the length of the fuselage of a Boeing 757 is 155 feet. So it's longer than the first Wright brothers flight. As far as space weather, I've never seen it make much difference in anything. But you say so. And everybody's signal is coming in beautifully here, especially Tom with his attenuated LMAC into the amplifier. I just wonder what the amplifier is. Is that still the 30L1? And it's doing a great job, Tom. Sorry about the noise. I hope you can find the cause of that. But we've had one of our friends down in Raleigh having some kind of machine gun type noise that shows up. Sort of reminds me of what you're experiencing. And let's see here. Buddy, the 32 V3 sounds great, and so does yours there, Jimmy. I'm not sure what 5/7 signal report was, but it sounds good. I'll give you the same. And of course, Glenn, your Viking 500 sounds good. Well, I just thought I'd get the old DX-40 out today and give it some exercise. It has a very low carrier power, only about 6 watts. That's about all you can get out of it. In CW mode, it's got 40, but in AM mode, it's real low power. But boy, does it peak up when you talk, man. It slams that plate current way up there. So you got to tune it up in CW mode first, and then switch over to AM mode. And the amplifier, it's taking that 6 watts, and let's see, it's converting that to about 1,000 PEP. So that's what control carrier modulation does for you. And I'm using the same D104 mic that I usually do. Probably some things in the chain that change the audio, so it's not as crisp as John reported there, I guess. And Mark, congratulations on getting the Harvey Wells. That's going to be fun making that work. So go ahead and take it, Tom, if you copy. WA4FJQ, N4LQ.
N4LQ in the group, this is WA4FJQ. Okay, Steve, the amp here is the 30L1, and we finally got the plate current down into a reasonable level with this attenuator, so I'm glad to hear that some of the other folks are copying me. I can copy Dave and of course you and Charlie, MEC, and Buddy ARK, but everybody else that's in the middle of the lineup, I just know they're there, and that's about it. I've never heard this type of QRM before. I have no idea what it is. It's definitely pulsatile. It's not an arcing because it goes for about 4 seconds, quits for a half second, then comes back on 4 seconds, and it's knocking out everything. So it's the first time I've ever run across it. But I'll stay in the group as long as I can. If I miss my turn, you know what the problem is here. But at any rate, we're getting about close to an inch and a half of rain so far, and it's still coming down. So we're doing good over here, and we need it. At any rate, let me turn it over to Stan, W4KR. This is WA4FJQ, over.
Okay, Tom, WA4FJQ. It's W4KR. Well, good afternoon to you, Tom. Copying you fine down here. You're a good solid between S9 and 10 over. Got a little bit of QSB right in there, but otherwise you're in good shape. I didn't mention what I was running today. I'm running peaking. Well, carrier powers. Oh, too much. Well, I'll leave it up there. For Tom, I'll leave it up there. It's about 190 watts. I thought I had set it up at about the 150 mark. I'm using the SDR transceiver this afternoon. Let's see. Let me get my page up here. Yesterday morning, early. By early, I mean about 5:30, 6 o'clock. On 40 meters, there was a new kind of, I assume it was Chinese radar, but it was different than anything I'd heard before. It was about each hump was about 10 kcs wide. It's a digital type signal. And then there was about a 5 kc break, and then another one of those. And that went, it was pretty broad band. It went from about 70-50 up to 72-30 more or less. I was on there, and all of a sudden this thing appeared, and I just went back and forth and see what the ends of it were, and it lasted for a half an hour. But there was something additionally strange about it. I was on there with three lads down in VK, and when one of the VKs would come on, and he was the loudest of the bunch here. When one of those VKs came on, that interference would narrow down. The 10 kc part stayed the same, but rather than covering half the band, it was only covering about 20 kcs. It was hovering over his strong signal. So I'm not quite sure what that was all about. But it was interesting to listen to. It lasted for about a half an hour, and then it went away. We'll have to see what the consensus was. The guys down under were hearing it also, And the consensus was it was the source was a consensus. As far as John's tube caddy is concerned, that it will have a new home. So we got that squared away. And signal-wise, everybody's up a little bit. I noticed as the second round began, signals were picking up a little bit, and Dave, you were too. Early on, Dave, you were occasionally, as you were starting the net, you guys were getting closer to the noise level, but then you'd peak right up again, and this last go didn't hear any of it. So with that, George, here it comes again, and we'll be listening. K4GDN, this is W4KR.
W4KR in the groups, K4GDN. Well, the thunderstorms are beginning to move in here, and it's getting a little bit closer, so I'm probably going to get out of here on this one. Like I say, we've had about 4 inches of rain, and they were predicting the thunderstorms to come in later, and they may be fairly severe here, so I'm going to say 73 on this one. I may listen for a little while in case things don't come too close, but I'm going to say 73 on this. And Tom, that's interesting, you running that 3001. I've got a 3001 I'm getting ready to put on the air here shortly. I made some little minor changes to it, but we'll get it on here shortly, and I may try it with AM too. And it might be with control carry. I might run my drinks into it, see how it works. So with that, I'm going to say 73, and I'll turn it over to, I think it's Mark, KG4IUQ. This is K4GD at 73. And Dave, thanks for calling in that.
Thank you very much, George. You're sounding good there, and I hope you don't have any real bad thunderstorms. Everybody's sounding pretty good here. Dave, LLR, you were talking about the Wright brothers' historic first flight. I've been there, Kitty Hawk, to see the area where that happened. And I was a little kid, and I think some of my first memories of shortwave radio were when I was walking around in that area. Steve, sounding good with your 6-watt carrier, amplified to 1,000 PEP. WA4FJQ, Todd, you say that you have QRM. Stan, W4KR, sounding good on your SDR transceiver. And KZ4B, your 10-tech Eagle, driving a Titan 1, sounding good here. K1BBC, sounding good. And Cliff, NKL, you sound good. Glenn, N4AK with the Johnson 500, you sounding good. Mayer, I think you said a Heathkit transmitter, but I am not sure. But you're sounding good. And I was amazed to hear that I was 20 over S9 in your location. K4JAL with the Collins rig and the Cobra antenna, sounding good. Bruce, N4WD, you were somewhat light over here, but I copied most of what it said. Lee, K4VWD, you say that you have all of your Christmas packages wrapped, so that's good. You're ready for Christmas. Charlie, W4MEC, you sounding good. And Buddy, WB4ARK, you sounding really good. I've removed a wire from my microphone. I think my sound has probably improved. I had an extra wire on there, probably something I didn't know any better than to do. It was to help switch. I was switching the microphone push to talk by adding an extra wire that went down to a foot switch. That may have improved it. I'm going to listen to the recording if Steve puts it up and see if it has improved it. I think I'm very happy that Steve has helped me out by working on this multi-LMAC AF68. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to KZ4B. John, this is KG4IUQ.
KZ4B, go ahead. Anybody hearing John?
Yes. I'm hearing you, Steve. Or Dave.
That's your time, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear Shelby turn it over to me. IUQ. This is KZ4 Bravo. I am looking for I hope y'all can copy me, I'm looking for a 3715 crystal. Preferably in a 243 case, the FT243, but I'll take anything. So I can use it with my my T150 and not have to zero beat each time. So if anybody's got one, either a commercial one or one that has been self-ground, either one is fine. And we're willing to pay for what we get, because they are hard to come by these days. But that's what we're on the lookout for. So, on that note, and oh, by the way, on the weather, we're about 25 miles north of downtown Charlotte, and it's just drizzled all day, not much wind. It blew more yesterday than it did today, so I was expecting a lot nastier weather, which hasn't materialized as of yet, but that could change, I guess. So that's the rundown here. So, John, take it away. K1VVC in the group, KZ4B, over.
Yeah, very good. KZ4B, K1VVC. And everybody's coming through great. If this is what it's like with a big solar storm, I guess we should hope we have more of them, at least for the nest, because everybody's coming through really well today with very little noise. I think I forgot to mention I'm running a Viking 500 and receiving on a National HRO 60. Not more else to report here. Everything is going well. And Stan, I sort of heard your voicemail in the background when you called me, but I think I gave you my cell phone number last time we talked, but you didn't call me on that. But okay on the tube caddy. I'll probably have a couple more of them soon also available. Over to you, Cliff. WB4NKL. What's happening up there in Limestone? K1VVC.
K1VVC, WB4NKL. It's kind of quiet up here in Limestone today, John. I am running a DX-100B Heathkit transmitter, but I'm running a Hammerlin Comet Pro receiver today. Plug-in coils, no AVC, no meter, and I can see why they invented AVC. You've got to keep a hand on the RF gain. One signal, we got it cranked up, and the next one knocks you out of your seat. And so it seems to be pretty stable as far as drift, but like I say, one hand on the RF gain control all the time. And turn it down and it completely mutes it, so that's what I'm using here for a mute. So interesting. Everybody has got plenty of sensitivity. Everybody come through 100% copy, so everybody's good signal in here. Go ahead, Glenn. N4AKs, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, WB4NKL in the group, N4AK. Something kind of interesting. the other morning at Steve's was talking about FM on AF68s and so forth. So after the net, Steve, Cliff, and I switched over to FM. And then Charlie chimed in and said, yeah, it was legal. And I'm reading a little section out of a handbook called FM in Repeaters, which was published by ARRL in 1972. They were doing tests on narrowband FM between W1AW and a station called W2CDG. And they did the test throughout 1947 and found out that actually FM was compatible up here on the higher frequencies. And the ARRL with the FCC were authorized to conduct a one-year trial basis on 3850 and 3900 between those frequencies, and then 14200, 14250, and also on 10 and 6 meters. And after the tests were done, the fact that narrowband FM was then authorized to all amateur voice frequencies. And the other day, when we did it, I was watching on the modulation meters, and the FM was no wider than the AM. Everybody's signal looked good. I was using the FT991. I think there was a 9300 involved, and then Steve's AF68. So I thought that would be interesting for you. Follow up. So, mirror WF2U N4AK.
Yeah, Roger. N4AK and the net. This is WF2U. Yeah, signals are tremendous this time. Everybody since the last round went up just about 5 to 10 dB on the S meter here. So I have nothing to complain about. Everybody is, as they say, and I'm really sitting in an armchair, leaning back and listening to it. And anyway, interesting, Steve, that that's about my what was the DX-60 or DX-40, that there is such a big difference between the static plate current and the modulated plate current peaks, because as I remember, I used the DX-40 in the beginning of my AM career back in the 60s, early 60s. I have a DX-40, and it's actually very similar output to the way this Cheyenne works. And the idle no modulation plate, output is just about 30 to 40 watts, depends. And in peaks, it makes about 60 to 70 watts or so. So anyway, something I don't know. I find it strange. And then this Cheyenne acts very, very similar to that. And what else? Yeah, everybody is. Well, Tom, let's see, who didn't? Yeah. Oh yeah, Mark, you had a question about this transmitter is not familiar. Heathkit made a pair of receiver transmitter pair that look just like the Apache and the Mohawk receiver combo. Very similar, but it's like much, much smaller. and more compact, and they don't have the power supply built in. They are powered from an external power supply, one of those standard Heathkit power supplies. And so they saved space. They usually used it for mobile. It was specified as a mobile combo, and the receiver is also mobile, and they used to have a DC supply for that too available. And so anyway, that's what I'm using. Just think of like a DX-40 or a DX-60 without the power supply in it, and repackaged somewhat, and that's what the transmitter is. So I'm not going to keep it long because we have a lot of participants here, so I'm not going to hog the air any longer. But great signals again, and thanks Dave for running the net, and it was nice to hear everybody. So with that, it goes to Jimmy, K4JAL and the crew. This is WFTU, listening all the way to the end.
WF2U, K4JAL. Well, I don't know what's going on with my mic. I hope nothing, Dave. Battery may be down. I keep forgetting to turn it off, and sometimes it goes for weeks. So there you go. And Steve, I thought I said 5 by 9, but there ain't no telling what I said. I'm real happy today. I'm putting together my new SDR transceiver. Put out 20 watts of single sideband if I ever get it put together and get all of it right. I've got the power supply together so far. Wasn't much to that. It's really a voltage regulator. You got to put a 12 volt ham power supply on it, and it involves all the other voltages. So there. I bet that was boring to hear. N4YQ. I got that right, Chuck. K4JAL. 7-3, guys, but I'm listening.
Okay, Jimmy. K4JAL and a fine group today, N4IYQ. Well, when you brought up about the Wright brothers and 120 feet in 1903, Dave, made me think, the first year I went to Dayton, we stopped at the Dayton Wright Brothers Airport, which is close to Miamisburg, and they have a replica of the Wright B Flyer there. And they actually, a group of people, they built a more robust, but it kind of looked like the Wright B. Big difference. So its empty weight was 3,400 pounds compared to 1,400 pounds loaded weight of the original machine. But it's certainly worthwhile if you go to Dayton, make a stop there at that airport. There's a museum. It does have different days, and there's a website, right-b-flyer.org. Tells all about it. And Dave, thank you for the comments on the LMAX. We like the OL back. And there's everybody sounds good today. I'm copied everybody real well. And Lee on having all the Christmas presents wrapped. That's quite an accomplishment. You know, I wondered if you take wrapping on consignment, might throw some money in a pot and buy some more equipment that you might have been wanting. Anyway, hope everybody has a great weekend, what's left of it. Everybody dodges any severe weather. GDN, I don't know if you're still listening, but hope the thunderstorms don't bother you too well. And we look forward to seeing everybody next week. I'm assuming, and Dave, I'm sure you'll comment whether there'll be a net on Christmas Eve. 73, everybody stay safe, stay healthy, be blessed. N4WD, Bruce, down to you. N4IYQ.
IYQ too. N4WD. My brother was a clown with the fire department. He had a badge. It had a big old IYQ on it, and everybody would look at it, and he'd go, want to know what it meant, and he'd say IYQ too. So, well, anyway, got rid of some of my stuff on the bench. I got rid of the SB-101, fire supply and all, so Now I got room to maybe drag out to F67 and get the transmitter working. I got the receiver going, need to get the transmitter going. And the homebrew power supply is the kicker on that. I may have to drag the one off of the F68s and use it, see if I can get it going that way, since it's got all the right relays and things in it. Everybody still got the ocean waves on them, but everybody sounded good again. And let's see, Lee, give it back down to you. Y'all all have a good, blessed rest of the day and the week to come. Keep your feet dry. K4VWD and 4WD.
Okay, Bruce, N4WD, K4VWD. Well, first of all, I'm not going to sub the wrapping. You ought to see it. Packages are covered, but they don't look all that good. With my shaking hands, I did a good job just to get them covered. So you got to see them before you say anything. And Steve, I've been thinking about the fact that I could copy y'all's FM on my PMR8 receiver. And I've come up with a possible reason. My receiver is very narrow. It's not broad at all. As a matter of fact, in most of the stations, we are not able to exactly zero beat the net control station. So I am constantly tuning people in. So I'm wondering if the fact that I could copy all of you and it didn't sound like there was any distortion or anything, I could copy all three of you no trouble. So I'm wondering if it has to do with the fact that this PMR8 receiver is so narrow. Anyway, that's a thought I had. So with that, I will keep it going. So Charlie, here she comes. W4MEC in the group. K4VWD.
Very good, Lee. K4VWD in the group. W4MEC. Well, first off, Jimmy, you made a comment about your mic, so I had to comment back. I got a snap, crackle, pop from your microphone. The audio went up and down a couple times on the output, and then it went thunk and got a low-grade hum in it all the way to the end of your transmission. I mean, very low-grade. Your audio is much stronger than the hum, but it just appeared about halfway through your transmission, so I do a little cable check there. Let's see, what else? I was going to comment about the Wright brothers, and I did a little checking on the sending information across the Atlantic back in the 1800s and early 1900s. And the first transatlantic cable only lasted a couple of weeks. But when they got it running, it took 16 hours to send 98 words from England, the Queen's reply back to President Buchanan from England back to the U.S. 16 hours, and that was about 0.1 words a minute. And by the 1870s, there was a couple more cables, and they were doing about 8 words per minute. And it wasn't until the 1920s that they got to 120 words per minute. And it all had to do with the inductance and capacitance of the cable over that great a distance. And they didn't have repeaters, and they didn't have anything else, and it was just a chore. All that being said, you know, the relaying of information from one side of the pond to the other back then took a while, and was probably very truncated. They didn't go into great details and stories. But the Wright brothers' real claim is not first in flight, like it says on the North Carolina plate. It's first in control flight, because other people were flying, but they were flying in a straight line. And the Wright brothers figured out how to do it. Now, they had a big festival, exposition of flying in France. And the Wright brothers went to France with their airplane, and all the people over there in the big, where they were doing all these demonstrations of flying, everybody there from all the different parts, like Germany, France, England, they had planes and they flew in a straight line. Well, the Wright brothers got out there and they cranked up their plane, they took off and they flew around, and they flew around the tops of those people, and everybody went bonkers, because it's one thing to just take a glider and go up in the air and come right back down. It's another thing to actually fly. And I mean, that was the first time anybody actually saw anybody flying an airplane, so that's a real claim to fame. So, but I always thought that was, if you read the story of the Wright brothers, they go into a lot more detail and how bonkers those people went, you know. So it really revolutionized everything the moment they took off in their plane and turned around and flew back. So pretty neat. Let's see, that's about it. And now, listen to the end. I was going to make one comment about slope detection, which is what your receiver is doing there. When you got to think about the carrier on FM is going up and down in frequency, and if you position this signal just in the right spot, that carrier goes up and down like in the at the last IF in the detector, and you get a variable voltage output because of the Q of the circuit there. So if you're on frequency, it's putting out a max voltage, let's say, but as you slide it down, the voltage goes down. But if you slide it up and down into audio rate, you get an audio signal that gets detected. So you have to put that thing, what you're doing, we were setting it just in the perfect spot on the slope, that carrier going up and down was actually being converted into an audio signal, when in reality there's no modulation on it at all. So the Heathkit HW17, a 2-meter rig, AM rig, you could buy FM modules for the back, so you could transmit FM, but they totally relied on slope detecting to copy FM on a 2-meter AM rig back there, while you had an FM modulator to transmit with. So a lot of tinkering. So let's see, goes to Buddy, WB4ARK in the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC, WB4ARK. Okay, Charlie. Well, looks like I'm modulating. The microphone relay didn't, the receiver relay didn't kick in last time, so I wasn't sure I was getting, I was sure I was transmitting, but I wasn't sure this time I was actually transmitting on the output, because the relay did make contact this time around. Well, I'd like to say thanks for doing the net, Dave. And Charlie, you don't need a new tube for your ART. You can use the one that's in there. It's not the best in the world, but it does work. If you wanted to fire the thing up. I didn't make that comment last time, but I thought I'd pass that along. Well, we've had a fair amount of rain this afternoon. It's been steady all day long, and we're getting some static crashes, and I believe they're probably coming from down toward the coast. I don't think there's anything to the west, or somebody would have said something about some storms over in Charlie's area and Dave's area and Glenn's area. But I hadn't heard any mention of any storms over in that area, so probably coming from the coast. So with that, I'm going to say 73, and we will look forward to Tuesday, getting close to Christmas, so we will be ready for it, I hope. WA4LLR, WB4ARK.
All right, buddy, fine business. Let me take a quick standby. Do we have any late check-ins coming in? All right, I thought I heard someone tune in earlier, but maybe it was nothing. Well, let me say 73 to George, 73 to Jimmy, 73 to Chuck, 73 to Buddy, and Chuck, if you're still listening, we have a Christmas Eve net schedule with Mr. N4LQ as Master of Ceremonies. So hopefully that will come to pass for any that won't be about Santa activities at that time. We can go ahead and do a 73 round if you'd like to. Stan will turn it to Mark, and Mir will turn it to, I think Bruce is still there. If he's not, it would go to Lee, and Buddy signed. So we'll go ahead and do a quick 73 round if you'd like. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
Okay, it's N4LQ. Definitely the Old Friends net will continue, and the net must go through. We will not be impeded by Christmas Eve. So, matter of fact, that would be a good time to be on the net. Anyway, we'll see everybody, what is today? Sunday? I guess we'll see everybody Tuesday then, with Charlie, 9 o'clock. And tonight, of course, on 160, don't forget that, if you can make it down to the VLF bands, 1864 at 8 p.m., single sideband slot bucket, lower slot bucket. We'll see everybody there. Let's see, and then from here it goes to whoever's left, I guess. Tom, if you're still there. WA4FJQ, N4LQ.
N4LQ in the group WA4FJQ. Okay, thanks, Steve. Yeah, I could copy a little bit better this last round. The noise has dropped down, this pulsatile noise. I'm beginning to wonder if it's something to do with Christmas lights. My wife has the entire house lit up from one end to the other, and some of them blink. And I think she just hooked those things up. So tomorrow I'll be going in and out trying to figure out if that's where all this pulsatile stuff's coming from, and that's the telephone ringing. So anyway, we'll say 73s. Thanks, Dave, for running the net. And I'm going to clear off of here so that the telephone won't bother everybody. 73s.
Okay, Tom. Good afternoon to you, WA4LLR. No, WA4FJQ, and the net W4KR. Yep, I got to run up to dinner, so I'll listen nigh on down to the end, but that will be it. John, I didn't have my cell phone down here. I had to I used the regular house phone, and I had to take the number that was in it, and I knew it was the wrong one. Anyway. I'm all set with the cell phone. With that, I'll say 73s, and take care, everybody. Lord willing, we'll see you Tuesday morning. If not, it'll be Thursday. So with that, I will turn it. George is gone, so DG4IUQ, the other half of Shelby, and the net W4KR73. Everybody.
This is KG4IUQ and the other half of Shelby. Well, it's been a good net for me. I hope that everybody has a Merry Christmas. I'm going to try to be on the net on Christmas Eve because the net must go through, as Steve said. I'd also like sometime to get me a 160 meter antenna and try the 1864 sideband net. That's something that I will probably be doing sometime. And Tom was talking about Christmas lights possibly making QRM. I believe they do. I sometimes drive around with AM mode on my car, and I just listen, and I can tell you newer looking lights make more noise. I mean, they just do. There's a church a few miles from here that puts out they have a whole bunch of things that look like bags with candles in them, and they have some sort of light in each of the whatever it is that appears to look like a bag. And when you get near that, it's just really emitting some kind of noise. And I believe the newer lights are more likely to make noise. Everybody have a good evening. I'm going to say 73, and if John, KZ4B, is here, I'm going to turn it over to you. This is KG4IUQ.
Okay, KG4IUQ in the group. This is KZ4B Fine Business. You know, it seems like everything is making more and more noise. A lot of the new electric cars, they were talking about not having AM so they didn't have to filter them so well. They can be quite noisy. And, of course, switching power supplies are notorious. And, you know, the LED lights, it just, that may kill a hobby quicker than anything. When you go deaf, if you can't hear, there's no point in talking. So, shifting gears, if anybody stumbles on a 3715 crystal, let me know. Feel free to break in, and I'll be glad to give you my phone number over the air. And that's about it. Dave, thanks for calling the net. You guys that call the net can keep things straight better than I can. My hat's off to all of you. And everybody have a great week. So I didn't catch if John signed out or not. So I'm gonna turn it to John, and if he's not there, straighten us out, Dave. K1VVC in the group, KZ4, be clear but listening.
Very good, John. I'm still here, and hopefully I'll be on next Sunday. If not, everybody have a wonderful holiday. And Dave, great job running the net as usual. Really appreciate it. Over to Cliff, WB4NKL, K1VVC.
K1VVC, WB4NKL. Okay, solid copy all the way around again on the Hammerland Super. It's not a Super, it's just a Comet Pro. So I'm not going to keep that in line too much knob twisted. 73s and enjoyed it, Dave. Thanks for calling it. And we will look for everybody next go around. Tuesday, I guess. Go ahead, Glenn. N4AK, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, WB4NKL in the group, November 4 Alpha Kilo. Very nice group assembled this afternoon. It's been enjoyable listening to all the signals. And Dave, appreciate you calling the net for us. So, let's see. Mira, over to you. WF2U N4AK.
Yeah, very good N4AK. And the net, this is WF2U. Yeah, signals are still holding up. And thanks, Dave, for running the net. Good signals all around. I'll try to be here Tuesday morning. And Thursday, I don't think so. But then Sunday would be okay. So take care all. Have a nice week, nice evening, and I'll pass it on to Bruce if you're still here. If not, then it goes to Lee. So take it, Bruce, and I'll probably talk to you on 160. N4WD. This is WF2U saying 73.
Okay, Mirror, N4WD. 73 stall. And he's got all his presents wrapped because he's only got one. Jeez. That didn't take no time at all. Hi. Dave, thanks for the call. And Steve, boy, you came out of the mush and I turn the speaker around and keep it falling off the table here. Everybody have a good one. God bless. This is N4WD 73 stall.
Okay, this is K4VWD. Bruce, it's good to hear you today. Thanks, Dave, for all you did today, including the history and all that. Wonderful job. As far as I know, I'll be here Tuesday, Thursday, and Christmas Eve, unless something comes up that hasn't been scheduled yet. But with my family, I never know. So, I'll say 7-3, God bless. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day, and I look forward to talking to you on Tuesday morning. W4MEC in the group, K4VWD.
Okay, Louis, K4VWD and the old friends W4MEC. Real good. Well, buddy, I know you told me that the tube you found was weak. I think it was 60 or 70 watts. And you reminded me a couple times, but in the back of my mind, I kept thinking that the tube was not in there. And I needed to find one. So thanks for kicking my darn brain back in gear. So I actually have almost got everything put in place to operate that thing, and hopefully I will get it on the air here. I'm not sure if, I think I'm net control on Tuesday. I probably won't use it for net control, but maybe on Thursday. Check in with it. So let's see. And that's about it for all my notes, and good to hear everybody today. Good signals all around, and we'll look for you on Tuesday morning. Try and stay dry. And everybody, if you're still there, W4RK in the group, W4MEC 7-3.
I think he signed out. Any final comments for the net? Okay. W4MEC, WA4LLR. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for your participation today. The band treated us well, especially considering circumstances. And I looked at the K index again. It had dropped down to 3.3 from 5.7. So as the geomagnetic field becomes more stable, so do signals as a general rule. Of course, Steve, you were talking about space weather a lot of times not seeming to have a whole lot of effect. I think most of us can remember a few times we've been on and there would be an X-class flare and suddenly signals were just gone. So yeah, it has an effect. It depends. And of course, if the solar flux gets real low, 15 and 10 tend to turn off with no signals. But it's interesting to try to correlate conditions with space weather. Everybody have a great rest of the weekend and a good week coming up. We'll look forward to seeing you on Tuesday, Lord willing. Thanks again for being here. 7-3, God bless, and we will catch you on Tuesday. This is Dave, WA4LLR in Burnsville, closing this session of the Old Friends Net and returning the frequency to normal amateur use. 7-3.